The morning light slipped through the curtains, soft and golden, warming the edge of our bathroom counter. I was folding fresh towels, half listening to the radio, when something caught my eye. A glass bottle that didn't belong there. It was elegant, almost seductive in design, with curves that whispered money and taste. I picked it up carefully, like it might reveal a secret if I held it long enough. The label read, Midnight Bloom. I said the name under my breath, trying to place it, but it didn't ring any bell. I've never worn anything like that. My perfumes are light, citrusy, easy to live in. This one was bold, floral, almost intoxicating. I twisted the cap and took a cautious sniff, and for a moment, my chest tightened. That scent? I'd smelled it before. Then it hit me. Ryan. He'd come home last night after drinks with the guys, kissed my cheek, and I'd noticed something sweet and heavy lingering on him. Not soap. Not his usual cologne. This. My stomach knotted as I placed the bottle back down, careful, like I was setting down evidence I wasn't ready to confront yet. A few minutes later, I heard him. The familiar sound of wet footsteps padding across the tiles. Ryan walked in, towel around his waist, hair dripping, wearing that easy charm he always wore like armor. "Oh, that?" he said when he saw the bottle. "Must have come with one of your orders, right?" His voice was casual, too casual. My fingers tightened around the counter's edge. I turned to him slowly. "No," I said, my tone steady but cold. "I don't wear this brand. Never have." He shrugged, pretending to think, then offered another lie with a soft laugh. "Then maybe it's from the cleaning lady." That's when I knew. Our cleaner hadn't been here in 2 weeks. The air between us thickened, heavy with that same floral scent clinging to his skin. He avoided my eyes, pretending to search for his razor, but I could feel his unease, a flicker behind the mask. I wanted to ask more, to push, but something stopped me. Instead, I watched him leave the room, humming as if nothing had happened. The perfume bottle sat there, glinting under the sunlight, silent, but loud. I placed it back down gently, marking the moment like the first crack in a mirror. When he left, the silence filled every corner of the bathroom. I could still smell it, that perfume, floating through the air like a ghost that refused to leave. I stared at the mirror, at my own reflection, trying to recognize the woman looking back. Calm on the outside, yes, but inside, something was shifting. Slow, steady, dangerous. I rinsed my hands under cold water, the way I do when I need to ground myself. The scent clung to my skin, stubborn and sweet. I thought of all the mornings we'd shared this space, his toothbrush beside mine, his laughter echoing off these same walls. And now, this. An intruder's scent marking territory that used to be ours. That day, I didn't confront him. Not yet. I simply noted the lie, filed it away, and waited. Because some truths don't need to be forced. They reveal themselves when the air grows too thick with secrets. And in our house, that scent was just getting started. The next morning, I woke up before him, earlier than usual, actually. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that makes your thoughts too loud. That bottle still sat on the counter, daring me to look at it again. So, I did. I picked it up, uncapped it, and sprayed it once into the air. The scent bloomed around me, rich, floral, almost taunting. This time, I didn't flinch. I left the bathroom door open, waiting. When Ryan finally stumbled in, half awake and humming, the smell must have hit him instantly. He paused, then smiled, that same rehearsed grin. "You wearing something new?" he asked, pretending it was light banter. I smiled back, just enough to hide what I was thinking. "You tell me," I said softly. "You seem to recognize it." His laugh came out thin, nervous around the edges. He brushed past me, grabbed his razor, and changed the subject like he always did. But I caught the way his hand trembled, just a little. That's when I knew this wasn't just a perfume. It was a message. One he hadn't meant for me to read, but one I wasn't about to ignore. Later that afternoon, while he was out running errands, I couldn't stop thinking about that scent. It wasn't just perfume anymore. It was proof. I went back to the bathroom, opened the cabinet, checked every shelf, every drawer. Nothing else was out of place. Just that bottle, sitting there, unapologetically beautiful. I almost laughed. Betrayal always comes dressed in luxury, doesn't it? Something told me to check the trash. It felt ridiculous at first, but my gut was louder than my pride. I pulled out the bathroom bin, sifted through tissues and wrappers until I saw it. The perfume box, folded neatly like someone trying to erase their tracks. Inside, a small boutique receipt, crisp and damning. I felt my pulse in my throat. The date, 2 days ago. The message, to my favorite scent, love, R. I read it 3 times, each word heavier than the last. My mind split in 2, 1 part numb, 1 part burning. R, for Ryan, or for her? I folded the note carefully, almost tenderly, as if handling something fragile. Then I slipped it into my purse. It wasn't just curiosity anymore. It was surveillance. That evening, Ryan came home with takeout and that same easy smile, the one that used to make me melt but now made my stomach turn. He kissed my forehead, asked about my day, completely unaware that the note sat hidden in my purse just a few feet away. Every word he said sounded rehearsed, hollow. I nodded, played along, pretending not to notice how the air still carried that perfume. I watched him from across the room, memorizing his movements, the way he avoided eye contact, the way he laughed too quickly. Every detail became data, every lie another piece of the puzzle. I'd loved this man for over a decade, trusted him without hesitation. But in that moment, I realized something I couldn't unsee. The scent wasn't fading. It was spreading. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't ask questions either. I just made a quiet promise to myself. If he was lying to me, I'd find out. And I'd make sure the truth hurt more than the lie ever could. I smiled at him as he poured wine, my mind already setting the stage. Tomorrow, the game would begin. He was unusually sweet that morning, making coffee, complimenting my hair, even humming while he packed for work. It was almost comical. Guilt has a rhythm. Once you learn to hear it, it's unmistakable. I played along, smiled, even kissed his cheek before he left. Inside, though, my thoughts were sharpening like glass. By the time he suggested dinner that evening, I already knew what I'd bring with me. We went to a new Italian restaurant he'd been dying to try. Candlelight, music, wine, everything perfectly curated to distract me. But his affection felt forced, like he was performing for an invisible audience. Between laughs and sips of red wine, I caught him checking his phone twice. My heart didn't ache anymore. It calculated. I reached into my purse, feeling the folded note like a loaded secret. Halfway through dinner, he leaned forward, smiling too wide. "You've been quiet lately. Work stress?" he asked. His voice was light, but I saw the flicker in his eyes, the fear of being found out. I smiled back. "Maybe," I said softly. "Or maybe I've just been catching new scents around me." The silence that followed was delicious. He laughed, but the sound broke halfway through. I reached into my purse, my fingers brushing against the folded note. The paper felt warm, almost alive, like it had been waiting for this moment. I laid it on the table, right between the wine glasses, my hand steady. "You forgot to throw this away," I said. He froze. His smile twitched, then vanished completely. His eyes darted down, recognizing his own handwriting before I even said a word. "Julia, come on," he stammered. That's nothing. It was part of a client gift. I tilted my head, watching him scramble, watching the lies trip over each other in real time. A client who wears midnight bloom? I asked, my voice low but steady. Because that's exactly what you smelled like last night. His mouth opened, then closed again. He looked trapped. Not by me, but by his own carelessness. He tried to regain control, fumbling with his napkin like it could shield him from the truth. "It's not what you think," he muttered, eyes darting toward the waiter as if praying for rescue. "Then explain it," I said, in a way that doesn't insult my intelligence. For a second, everything around us blurred. The chatter, the clinking glasses, the music. Just me, him, and the lie hanging between us like smoke. The waiter appeared at the worst possible time, all smiles and obliviousness. "Would you two like dessert?" he asked, holding a tray of tiramisu like a peace offering. I didn't take my eyes off Ryan. "No, thank you," I said calmly. "I've lost my appetite." The waiter blinked, awkwardly nodded, and walked away. Ryan exhaled, rubbing his temples, his charm completely gone. For the first time, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel desperate for an explanation or an apology. I just felt awake. The kind of awake that comes after months of sleepwalking through someone else's lies. I leaned back, letting the silence fill the space between us. He whispered my name, reaching for my hand, but I pulled it away before he touched me. On the drive home, he tried to talk. Excuses, half-truths, fragments of regret. I just watched the city lights blur past the window, thinking how beautiful freedom might look when it finally arrived. I wasn't done yet. I was just getting started. The scent of midnight bloom lingered in the car, and for the first time, I didn't hate it. It smelled like a warning and a plan. After that dinner, I stopped asking questions. I didn't need to. His silence answered most of them anyway. But I wasn't ready to leave. Not yet. I wanted him to see what betrayal felt like when it was mirrored back with precision. So, I smiled more. Laughed at his jokes, kissed him goodnight. Every move was calculated, not revenge for pain, but for clarity. 2 weeks later, I suggested a weekend getaway. "Just us," I said, pretending my voice carried hope instead of strategy. He agreed instantly, his relief almost pathetic. He thought he was winning me back. What he didn't know was that I'd already made arrangements. With a friend who worked at the hotel he'd visited last month for that business meeting. Same name, same room number. When we arrived, I made sure we stopped at the bar first. "Let's celebrate a fresh start," I said, clinking my glass against his. He grinned, leaning closer, relaxed, the way men do when they think they've gotten away with something. My heart didn't race, my hands didn't shake. This wasn't anger anymore, it was art. He was mid-sentence, telling some story about a client when she appeared, the hostess. Perfect timing. She smiled warmly at him, completely unaware that she was walking into the center of my web. "Mr. Ryan," she said brightly, "welcome back. Will your lady friend be joining us again?" For a split second, the air cracked open. His smile collapsed. My glass froze halfway to my lips. I turned slowly, savoring the silence that followed. He stammered something. I didn't care what. I was watching his face drain of color, his charm evaporating like mist under a spotlight. "Oh," I said softly, smiling just enough to sting. She already did, her perfume still in our bathroom. His lips parted, searching for air that wouldn't come. His lie had finally met daylight. He tried to stand, to salvage dignity from the wreckage, but I was already reaching into my purse. "Sit down," I said, almost kindly. I handed him an envelope, perfectly folded, the paper thick and final. "Don't worry," I told him. "I left you something, the perfume. You'll need it when you start smelling like yourself again." His jaw clenched, but he said nothing, not a single word. He stared at the envelope like it might bite him. I watched his hands tremble as he unfolded the papers, the legal weight of consequence suddenly very real. For years, I'd let his words shape my reality. But in that bar, with soft jazz playing and strangers laughing a few tables away, I realized something. I didn't need to raise my voice to end the story. Silence was louder. He whispered my name, tried to reach for my wrist, but I stepped back. "Don't," I said quietly. My voice didn't crack. It cut. The hostess lingered awkwardly near the bar, pretending not to watch, but I caught her reflection in the mirror. Wide-eyed, sympathetic. It didn't matter. This wasn't about witnesses. This was about closure, the kind that smells like justice, not flowers. I turned and walked away, the sound of my heels blending with the music. Behind me, he called out once, my name, soft, almost broken. But I didn't look back. The cool night air hit my skin as I stepped outside, carrying the faint trace of midnight bloom behind me. For the first time, it didn't smell like her. It smelled like the end, and the beginning of something entirely mine. The house felt different once he left. Quieter, lighter, like someone had finally opened a window after years of stale air. His things were gone within a week. Drawers that used to overflow now sat half empty, as if even the furniture could breathe again. I didn't cry, not once. Instead, I brewed coffee, put on music, and cleaned. Every wiped counter, every folded towel felt like taking back a piece of myself. I found the perfume bottle one last time while organizing the cabinet. Its scent still clung stubbornly to the glass, sweet and suffocating. I turned it over in my hands, remembering the lies it carried, the woman it belonged to, and the woman it woke up inside me. Then I boxed it up, sealed it, and listed it online. Within hours, it was sold, gone to someone else's story. I didn't keep the money. I donated it to a women's shelter downtown. It felt poetic, turning betrayal into something that might help someone else find her way out. That night, I stood by the open window, the city buzzing below, and for the first time in months, I could actually breathe. The air didn't carry her scent anymore. It carried mine. He called a week later. Of course he did. Men like Ryan always circle back when the silence becomes louder than the sound of their own excuses. His voice trembled through the phone, heavy with regret. "Julia, please," he said. "I made a mistake." I almost laughed, not out of cruelty, but realization. He still thought this was about the perfume. It never was. It was about the lie beneath it. "I know," I said calmly, my voice steady as stone. "You made several." There was a pause, the kind that swallows everything. I could hear him breathing, searching for the right words, but there were none left to say. "We can fix this," he whispered. "No," I replied. "We can't. You broke something that doesn't glue back." Then I ended the call, my hand shaking only for a second. Afterward, I stood in the middle of the living room, surrounded by silence that no longer hurt. The kind of silence that felt earned. I lit a candle, not to mask anything, but to fill the space with something new. The soft scent of lemon and cedar drifted through the air, clean, fresh, mine. I smiled, realizing how strange it was that freedom could have a smell. Weeks passed, and life began to find a rhythm again, slower, softer, but steady. I started waking up before my alarm, making breakfast for one, and actually tasting it. I didn't flinch at empty rooms anymore. I filled them with books, plants, and laughter that belonged only to me. Healing didn't feel dramatic or cinematic. It felt like small mornings that didn't ache. Sometimes I'd catch myself remembering, not the pain, but the woman I used to be, the one who waited for love to define her worth. I felt sorry for her, but also proud. She'd survived, even when she didn't realize she was being buried. Every scar, every sleepless night, had carved out space for this new version of me. Sharper, quieter, unshakable. One evening, I passed by a perfume ad on TV. Midnight Bloom. The model smiled, all mystery and seduction. I muted the sound and watched for a second, then turned it off. That story wasn't mine anymore. I didn't need reminders. My scent, my life, was finally my own. And it smelled nothing like roses. It smelled like freedom waiting at the door. Months later, I walked into an upscale department store, sunlight pouring through the glass doors like a spotlight on a new chapter. The air was filled with 1,000 fragrances, sweet, spicy, mysterious. But none of them belonged to me. Not yet. I moved slowly through the aisles, letting the scents swirl around me, each bottle promising a story. I wasn't looking for love or memory. I was looking for something honest. A saleswoman approached, smiling. "Would you like to try something new?" she asked, holding out a tester strip. I nodded, inhaling deeply. It was light, clean, with notes of citrus and amber. Simple, uncomplicated. Me. I smiled. "I'll take it," I said, setting the box on the counter. The woman typed quickly, her perfume faint but kind, blending into the air between us. Before she wrapped it, she asked, "Would you like to engrave a name on the bottle?" I paused for a moment, the question sinking deeper than she probably meant it to. Then I smiled, the kind of smile that comes from knowing exactly who you've become. "Yes," I said. "Engrave one word, mine." As she handed me the tiny bottle, I caught my reflection in the mirrored counter. Same eyes, same hands, but a different woman entirely. I used to measure my worth by how gently I was treated, by how much space someone else made for me. Now I measured it by how I made space for myself. No grand speeches, no fireworks, just peace, the kind that hums quietly in your chest when you finally stop fighting the wrong battles. When I stepped outside, the city air met me like an old friend. Warm breeze, faint scent of rain on concrete. Familiar. Alive. I uncapped the bottle, sprayed once, and smiled as the fragrance settled on my skin. It didn't remind me of him. It didn't remind me of pain. It reminded me of possibility, of everything that still waited for me, untouched and untainted. People talk about freedom like it's a destination, but it's not. It's a scent that lingers, subtle, personal, hard to describe but impossible to forget. Mine smelled like lemon and hope, like morning after a long night. I walked down the street, head high, the weight gone from my shoulders. For the first time, I wasn't escaping anything. I was simply arriving. That night, I placed the bottle on my dresser. Nothing fancy, just a small glass reminder of everything I'd reclaimed. I didn't need it to hide behind, or to seduce, or to heal. It was just a scent I loved, something that felt honest on my skin. I realized, standing there in the quiet, that I didn't miss the life I'd lost. I missed the woman I'd ignored for too long, and I'd finally brought her home. Sometimes, I still catch faint traces of that old perfume in memory. Midnight Bloom, lingering like a ghost. But even ghosts fade when you stop feeding them. The lies, the shame, the second-guessing, all of it has lost its grip. I no longer flinch at reminders. They've become proof of distance, markers of how far I've come. The past doesn't sting when it's behind glass. The scent of betrayal faded. The scent of freedom stayed. It seeped into my clothes, my laughter, the way I walked into rooms without apology. And as I turned off the light that night, I smiled. Not because I'd survived him, but because I'd found myself. That, I realized, was the sweetest fragrance of all.